Welcome to a new edition of Cotton. And we have today a special guest, Professor Narayani Gupta. And she's an eminent historian and she specializes particularly in the history of Delhi. And ma'am, we are very happy that you readily agreed to be interviewed today on this national, this Central Vista project. So my first question is, what is this Central Vista all about?
Thank you so much. And it's a great honor for me because the Northeast is a place I wish I had more time or excuses to visit. I think it's one of the most beautiful and civilized places in India.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just before I begin, I want to make a point. हम पहली दफा नॉर्थ ईस्ट में गए थे असम और फिर उसके बाद मिजोरम 1964 में और उसके बाद गए 2004 में 40 साल के बाद। पहली दफा जब हम गए मुझे लगा कि ये इंडिया का हिस्सा नहीं है, इधर के लोग बिल्कुल अलग हैं, इतने खुश मिजाज थे, हमेशा गाना गिटार बजाना और ऐसे छोटे छोटे घर होते थे जो ऊपर से लड़कियां उनको नीचे देख रहे हैं, बात कर रहे और नीचे लोग खड़े उनको गाना सुना रहे, इतना सुंदर लगा। मुझे बिल्कुल एक तस्वीर की तरह याद है। 2004 में जब गए सब सुनसान लग रहा था, मिजोरम की बात कर रही हूँ मैं और मुझे बहुत दुख हुआ उससे, इस तरह कभी नहीं होना चाहिए। और हम गए थे, वो है इस जो हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं उससे जो संबंध है। हम गए थे इंटैक की तरफ से, इंडियन नेशनल ट्रस्ट, और वर्कशॉप जब शुरू हुआ हमने एक पोस्टर लगाया जिसमें इंडिया के वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज साइट्स का सब मार्क किए हुए थे। तो किसी ने कहा मिजोरम में कोई वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज साइट नहीं है। मैंने कहा कोई बात नहीं वो तो एक किस्म का रिकग्निशन है, लेकिन आपके यहाँ हेरिटेज तो बहुत है ना। कहा नहीं, हमारा कोई हेरिटेज मॉन्यूमेंट नहीं है। ऐसे नहीं, मॉन्यूमेंट नहीं है लेकिन हेरिटेज तो है। हेरिटेज का मतलब है कि आप अपने पूर्वजों से आपको कुछ मिला है जो अभी भी आप पहचानते हो, कंटिन्यू करते हो। ये है मेरा सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट कि इंडिया में सब जगह कुछ ना कुछ हेरिटेज है, चाहे फोक सॉन्ग्स हो या कोई टेक्सटाइल वीविंग हो, जिसको इंटेंजिबल हेरिटेज कहते हैं, या गाने का ट्रेडिशन, सिर्फ मॉन्यूमेंट्स नहीं। ये सही है कि दिल्ली में कई चीजें हैं जिसको हम हेरिटेज कह सकते हैं, लेकिन शायद जो लोग सबसे ज्यादा लोग जानते हैं वो है हमारे वास्तुकला, हमारे आर्किटेक्चर के जो चिन्ह हैं, जो बहुत लंबे अरसे से उसके एग्जाम्पल्स मिलते हैं दिल्ली में। तो जो सेंट्रल विस्टा का आपने जिक्र किया था, ये मैं मानती हूँ कि हमारा हेरिटेज का एक भाग है। सेंट्रल विस्टा है 2 माइल का एक रास्ता। आप लोग दिल्ली गए हैं, आप जानते हैं मैं किस चीज की बात कर रही हूँ। जो राष्ट्रपति भवन और 2 सेक्रेटेरिएट्स हैं जो एक पहाड़ी के ऊपर है, और वहां से रास्ता नीचे को आता है और सीधा जाता है जमुना की ओर। जमुना तक नहीं, लेकिन उस दिशा में। और अगर आप थोड़ा आगे पढ़े तो आपको समझ में आएगा कि दिल्ली जो ऐतिहासिक शहर है, जो ट्रेडिशनल दिल्ली है, आजकल की दिल्ली नहीं जो बहुत फैल गया है, लेकिन पहले का जो था वो पहाड़ी और नदी के बीच में था। इसको कहते हैं दिल्ली ट्रायंगल। और इसके वजह से पहाड़ी ने उसको राजस्थान की भयानक गर्मी से और धूल से बचाया, और नदी ने उसको रास्ता दिया उत्तर प्रदेश जाने का। और पंजाब से रास्ते आते थे, तो दिल्ली एक मीटिंग ग्राउंड था, एक चौराहा भी नहीं, चौराहा ही समझ लो, राजस्थान
You can also
पंजाब।
speak at times in English. चौराहा मतलब भैया।
से ऐसे एक पॉइंट है, क्रॉसिंग पॉइंट।
Crossing point, yes. It's one side is hilly, and in the plain and the river. I was there in Delhi. I lived there for 15 years.
रियली? आप बात बताएंगे हमें संक्षेप में कि आपको अच्छा लगता था कि नहीं? क्योंकि दिल्ली को या तो लोग बहुत खुश होते हैं इधर रह के, और कुछ लोग हैं जो उसको कभी पसंद नहीं करते। आपका क्या अनुभव था?
No, it was good when I was there. It was this Delhi was actually I liked, but towards the end of my towards 2025 or so, it became very crowded. It became almost
यही
an
तो था।
impossible city.
दैट इज द सैड थिंग। खैर, तो इस ऑल द ओल्ड सिटीज ऑफ दिल्ली, ओल्ड मतलब हिस्टोरिक सिटीज जिसमें हम ब्रिटिश न्यू दिल्ली को भी शामिल करते हैं, ये सब इस ट्रायंगल के अंदर है। अच्छा, हर एक बादशाह, राजा, एम्परर जो वहां शहर बसाना चाहते थे, शहर पूरा शहर नहीं, लेकिन उसका एक सेंट्रल पॉइंट, ये नहीं कि उन्होंने पुराने जो इमारत थे उसके साथ जोड़ा या उसको तोड़ा, वो उसके बगल में बनाते थे। ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है। तो इसलिए जब सेवन सिटीज ऑफ दिल्ली कहते हैं, ये सब अलग अलग दिखता है। आप पुराना किला देखिए, हुमायूं का शहर था, शेरशाह का। लाल किला देखिए, शाहजहां का। और फिरोजाबाद, फिरोज शाह तुगलक। तो जब ब्रिटिश बनाने लगे, सोचने लगे कि हम कहाँ बनाए नई दिल्ली, उन्होंने चारों तरफ घूम के तीन चार पॉइंट्स देखा, उनको अच्छा लगा, लेकिन तीन में कुछ नुक्स थे। एक, नदी के किनारे, इसलिए मलेरिया का उपद्रव होगा। दूसरा है पहाड़ी पर, जो थोड़ा दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय के पास, जो बहुत अच्छा लगेगा लेकिन बनाने में कठिनाई होगी क्योंकि एरिया बहुत ऊपर नीचे है। तीसरा था जमुना पार का एक ब्रिज से जोड़ेंगे, जैसे पेरिस में है लेफ्ट बैंक राइट बैंक, उस पे भी विचार हुआ था। आखिर में उन्होंने तय किया कि जो शाहजहानाबाद है उसके दक्षिण में बनाएंगे, क्योंकि वहां जमीन बहुत था, सब ज्यादातर खेत थे, वो खरीदा जा सकता था। और उनमें वहां पर कई इमारत थे जिनको इसके अंदर तो सजा के बिठाएंगे। तो ये लोग भूल जाते हैं, कहते हैं उन्होंने अपने स्टाइल से बनाया, ठीक, लेकिन आप देखिए हुमायूंस टूम, सफदरजंग टूम, राजपथ पे जो एक बहुत बड़ा मस्जिद है जो पानी में है, शेरशाह सूरी के सहस्राम की तरह, ये सब को उन्होंने उसके अंदर कोई जैसे पत्थर काटते हैं ना, सुंदर पत्थर सोने के अंदर, वैसे सजा दिया, तो उसका भाग बन गया। ये नहीं कि उसको टाल दिया कि वो पुराना है, वो हमारा कुछ नहीं। तो ये बहुत, मेरे हिसाब से बहुत होशियारी से और बहुत ध्यान देते हुए डिजाइन किया गया था। बहुत छोटा शहर था न्यू दिल्ली जिसको कहते हैं, ब्रिटिश ने बनाया वो, पैदल आप एक एंड से दूसरे एंड तक चल सकते हैं आराम से। अभी तो बड़ा हो गया वो दूसरी बात है। तो ये लोधी गार्डन से लेकर तिलक ब्रिज और पीछे के रिज से लेकर जमुना तक, बस इतना ही था। और इस पर इतना विचार होता है, इतना बहस होता है इस एरिया पर, क्योंकि इसमें एक वो अभी भी मौजूद है। जैसे शेरशाह का दिल्ली या हुमायूं का दिल्ली, किले तो हैं लेकिन और कुछ नहीं है, शहर तो नहीं है। अच्छा, तो सेंट्रल विस्टा, ये बहुत लंबा जवाब हो गया, आपने पूछा था सेंट्रल विस्टा क्या है। वो है उसका सेंट्रल पॉइंट, जो उसका औपचारिक है, उस फॉर्मल सेंटर जिसको कहते हैं। हम कोई बातचीत में नहीं कहते हम सेंट्रल विस्टा जा रहे हैं, कोई नहीं बोलता। ये तो एक ऑफिशियल टर्म है। हम कहते हैं हम इंडिया गेट जा रहे हैं, या हम पार्लियामेंट की तरफ से जा रहे हैं। हाँ, तो हम इंडिविजुअल बिल्डिंग्स को पहचानते हैं, ये नहीं कि इसको पूरा देखते हैं। अच्छा, अब पता नहीं आपके जहन में क्या है, इसको क्या इम्पोर्टेंस है इसका। एक है कि यहाँ पर सिर्फ बिल्डिंग्स नहीं, इसमें बहुत खुली जगह है, और ये भी उतना ही इम्पोर्टेंट है जितना बिल्डिंग्स। और हम जो वहाँ पैदल चलते हैं, जाना पड़ता है, हम सबको इतना वो अच्छा लगता है, हम सोचते भी नहीं है उसके बारे में। हम नेशनल आर्काइव जाते पढ़ने, सेक्रेटेरिएट जाते कोई दरखास्त लेके, और कोई पार्लियामेंट के पास से गुजरते हैं, वो सब एरिया हमें एक पेडेस्ट्रियन,
Yeah.
पैदल
And
चलने वालों का
we,
जगह है।
we, we used to get the feel of the space, open space.
एब्सोल्युटली, एब्सोल्युटली, ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, क्योंकि बिल्डिंग्स ज्यादातर ऐसे हैं जिसमें हमें कोई काम नहीं है। गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसेज में हम जिंदगी में 5-6 बार गए होंगे किसी तरह जरूरत हो तो, ऐसे तो आने जाने का तो नहीं है। और वहां पर जो ब्रिटिश ने प्लान किया था, लेकिन तब तक फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर आ गया, सब पीछे हो गया काम, और फिर सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर बना नहीं पाए। पता नहीं आपको मालूम है कि नहीं, नेशनल आर्काइव्स तो आप जानते हैं क्रॉसिंग पर है।
Yes, yes.
नेशनल आर्काइव्स एक है, और उस लैटियंस का प्लान था कि एक नेशनल म्यूजियम, जो बाद में बना होगा, एक नेशनल व्हाट इज इट, म्यूजियम ऑफ मैन करके एक एंथ्रोपोलॉजिकल म्यूजियम होगा, और एक नेशनल लाइब्रेरी होगा, 4। और वहां पर बाहर के लोग आएंगे, आम लोग आएंगे, तो एक पॉपुलर फोरम भी था, 4 जगह थी जहां वो लोग जा सकते हैं। आपको लंदन, लंदन इतना नहीं, लेकिन वॉशिंगटन और पेरिस का सोचिए, शॉन्स एलिजे पेरिस में, वॉशिंगटन में मॉल, वॉशिंगटन का मॉल तो म्यूजियम ही म्यूजियम है। तो उसी तरह ये सब आइडियाज इधर उधर से लेते हैं आर्किटेक्ट्स, और उनको इनकॉर्पोरेट करते हैं। ये था प्लान, अब ये 3 बने नहीं। अच्छा, हमारी तो बिजली गई, अच्छा आ
Yes.
गई इधर भारी ये हो रहा है ना, बारिश हो रही है अम, तब भी लोगों को वो जगह बहुत पसंद है, क्योंकि वो खुला था, और अपने पेड़ों का ख्याल किया कि नहीं, हमें मालूम नहीं।
Yes.
लाटिन्स ने बहुत ध्यान दिया इस पे। कौन से पेड़ है और बताएं
जामुन था ना, बहुत जामुन पेड़,
उन-
जामुन and नीम.
उन्होंने सारे पेड़ को स्टडी किया, और ये नहीं कि एक बार देख लिया, साल भर में उनका क्या शक्ल है, क्या उनके पत्ते झड़ते हैं, क्या हमेशा 12 मास हरे रहते हैं। मैं कहा हमें हरा चाहिए, और ऐसे जिसमें फल हो जो लोग खा सके। तो आखिर में तय हुआ जामुन, तो सारा एवेन्यू जामुन का है। बर्लिन में म्यूजियम है, म्यूजियम का स्ट्रीट है जिसमें म्यूजियम्स बहुत है, ईस्ट बर्लिन में था पहले। उसको द एवेन्यू ऑफ द लिंडल ट्रीज कहते हैं, मतलब वो फूल जब होता है वो इतना खूबसूरत है। तो ये भी असल में राजपथ, कर्तव्य पथ, ये सब ना बोलने के इसको जामुन पथ कहना चाहिए था इसकी खूबसूरती तो ये है लेकिन ये समझते हैं कोई नेशनल जगह हो तो ऐसी चीजें बोलनी चाहिए जो किसी को समझ में नहीं आया। कर्तव्य पथ मुझे कभी समझ में नहीं आ रहा, क्योंकि किसका कर्तव्य है, गवर्नमेंट का है कि हमारा है, मुझे मालूम नहीं, लेकिन अब उसका नाम कर्तव्य पथ हो गया है। तो इसी तरह ये प्लान जो था सेंट्रल विस्टा का, जो पिछले पता नहीं 10 साल से धीरे धीरे एलाबोरेट किया जा रहा है, ये है कि जितने सरकारी दफ्तर हो सब यहाँ पर हो। पहले गवर्नमेंट ने कहा था सब एक जगह मत करो, यानी
डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन.
खुदा ने कहा जी, हाँ
डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन.
डिसेंट ना, दिल्ली के अंदर ही अलग अलग जगह करो। क्योंकि खुदा ना खाता कुछ हो तो सब
एक
खत्म नहीं
साथ
होंगे
खराब नहीं
कुछ।
हो जाए।
इसमें ये क्या भूल गलती से नहीं हुआ, ये सोच समझ के उन्होंने स्प्रेड आउट किया। अब सबको
डाइवर्सिफाइड।
वापस ला रहे हैं। एब्सोल्युटली। तो अब ये सब इधर आ जाएंगे। अब जो प्लान दिखाया गया है उसमें है कि 9 बिल्डिंग्स होंगे, 9 9 मंजिल के। और 9 मंजिल का मतलब है वो इंडिया गेट के ऊपर तक उसी लाइन में होगा। तो इंडिया गेट जो ऐसे खड़ा है सिपाही की तरह, वो तो उसमें दब जाएगा, उसकी खासियत नहीं रहेगी। और जो अभी सेक्रेटेरिएट कहते हैं, जो बहुत आर्किटेक्चरली बहुत खूबसूरत बिल्डिंग्स हैं, उनको म्यूजियम बनाया जाएगा। अब ये बोलना आसान है, करना बहुत मुश्किल है। म्यूजियम जहां के तहां नहीं कर सकते, उसको प्लान करना पड़ता है, उसके रिक्वायरमेंट्स होते हैं। तो कई बिल्डिंग्स टूट गए। नेशनल म्यूजियम, इंदिरा गांधी सेंटर ऑफ द आर्ट्स, ये सब गिर गया।
Indira Gandhi Center, National Center for the Arts. It was a big space, very open space. That's nowhere now.
अभी ये सब बना नहीं है। अभी तक क्या बना
But
है, ये
I have
पार्ट।
seen construction going on there, and everywhere there is some or other construction going on.
लेकिन फिलहाल तो दो चीजें हुई है। एक तो ये नया पार्लियामेंट बन गया है, और दूसरा है कि जो सेंट्रल रास्ता है जिसमें थोड़ा लोगों को चलने का है, उधर बहुत कीमती घास लगाया गया है, लोगों को मना किया उसमें चलने का। अब घास पे अगर आप ना चल सको तो क्या मजा। और छोटे छोटे दुकानें खुल गई हैं। और जो हमारा सबसे प्रिय था वहां पर, इंडिया गेट पे जाके आइसक्रीम खाना। ये होते हैं ना इस तरह के
Yes, 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 yes,
आदत।
yes, yes,
तो रात को जब देर हो जाती है, आप घर लौट रहे हो
yes.
और दिल्ली को क्रॉस कर रहे हो, चलो इंडिया गेट पे आइसक्रीम खाते हैं, ये सब की आदत थी। और इतना मजा आता था, रात दिन हो जाता था। अब वो सब बंद हो गया। आइसक्रीम वालों को कह दिया कि आप लोग कार पार्क में जाके बेचिए। कार पार्क में कौन जाएगा?
So basically, ma'am, this notion of this new Central Vista, the new Parliament, the new Secretariat, and also the proposed residence of the Prime Minister and also the Vice President. So, so do you think that all these things were necessary?
द अदर एक्सट्रीम इज जो गांधी जी ने कहा था। गांधी जी से पूछा गया कि राष्ट्रपति भवन 145 कमरे, इसका क्या किया जाए। उन्होंने सीधा जवाब दिया, इसको अस्पताल बनाओ। अब चलो अस्पताल नहीं, लेकिन कुछ तो और यूज कर सकते थे। तो बेचारी द्रौपदी मुर्मू उसमें भटक रही है, इतने बड़े बिल्डिंग के अंदर। मैं अक्सर अंदर गई हूँ, क्योंकि हम एक फिल्म बना रहे थे राष्ट्रपति भवन के ऊपर, मैंने किताब भी लिखी थी। तो हमने पूरा लगभग देखा है। और बड़ा खाली खाली लगता है। अब इसका कुछ उपयोग करते वहां पर ऑफ, बिकॉज वाइसरॉयज के जमाने में कुछ अलग बात थी ना। वहां पर बहुत सारे स्टेट गेस्ट आके रहते थे। वहां पर लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली वहां मीट करता था, क्योंकि कोई पार्लियामेंट नहीं था। वहां बहुत रौनक होती थी। अभी तो कुछ भी नहीं है। सो ये सब देखो कि किस तरह इस्तेमाल हो रहा है दूसरा बनाने से पहले।
And another thing is that when we speak about a city, about a place, so in the history there are many things happen in that city. There's an witness of time and changing regime. And what happens actually in the process, some of the changes stick to the identity of that place. Now,
Absolutely.
yeah. Now, if we want to get rid of our past, the city will lose its identity, isn't it?
Yes. It will become just a site for a strong government. You see, there is one important thing that has happened, which people have not bothered to understand. This area was called public land. All of us had a claim on it. Not that we could build private houses, but it was shared. Now it's called government land.
There's a difference between government and public.
And
yeah.
Sorry, one other thing. The whole underground area is going to be used. There's going to be a metro crossing there, metro stations. People will reach the secretariats directly into their buildings. They will not have to walk that little distance. बाहर से कोई मतलब नहीं है, वो सब नीचे से निकलेंगे. प्राइम मिनिस्टर अपने घर से पार्लियामेंट सुरंग से जाएंगे. There is a tunnel from PMO to Parliament. अब इन सब चीजों की क्या जरूरत थी?
Yeah. So this was another thing is that here I remember watching Bertrand Russell's grandmother 150 years back. Russell, in his autobiography, he wrote it that her grandmother 150 years back, she said that there should be no new construction in London. In London. Why did she say so? And you, in many of your writings and articles I saw, I Googled and I found that there shouldn't be any high-rise buildings in Delhi. So now what happened to all those things, all those plans, all those heritage, notion of our heritage and things?
So heritage has to do with sense of space, the sense of the place, which is called geopiety, the piety or the sacredness of the geography. Now, that is not being honored anymore. And there is at the moment a suggestion in Parliament, it hasn't yet been taken up, that many of the buildings under the archaeological survey should be given up to the local authorities because they're not important. Now, from what I read of the document, the importance is to do with size. So a Kos Minar is, because it's small, it's unimportant. But to me, a Kos Minar is a magical thing. It measures the distance and it was built along the Grand Trunk Road. You can join them up. In schools, this can be something for children to do. So to connect them, identify old roads. There are many old roads in Delhi which have now got submerged and overrun by other roads, and you don't know them unless you read about their history. Now the Central Vista had become one such place. That is, you have this nice road, you have the sense of openness. You see the sunrise behind India Gate, you see the sunset behind the secretariats. The hill is absolutely wonderful. It is a piece of inspiration to have built it there. And why not see the magic of geography instead of emphasizing the history that this was built by foreigners? Of course it was, but the people who worked there were Indians. And, they took it in, they enjoyed it. There is a wonderful description by Neeraj Chaudhary of walking when it was just built in the 1930s, walking along the Central Vista and being dazzled. And he'd come from Calcutta, which was very proud of its own Maidan and so on. But even so, yeah. So the sense of geography, the sense of space, and the sense of time, because if you think about it, you can see so many levels of history passing through that area. This whole area belonged to the Raja of Jaipur. Why? Because the Mughals used to give land to all their allies near their palace. So this area was called Jaisinghpura, and the British bought it from the Raja of Jaipur. So that's another story you can trace back. You know, it's all getting flattened out. And
Yeah, please.
yeah, no, go ahead. No, please.
No, my another thing is that is there somewhere an attempt to give a new identity to Delhi, or want to bring a break in the identity and give a new identity with the sensing regime?
You know, what I see, and this is a personal view, it may not be shared, is that there is a great weakness for monumentality. If you look at that statue of Sardar Patel, you know, he's high and lonely and standing there like a, I don't know, like a monolith. I mean, just, it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't add to his stature, his um, historical stature. A smaller one would have been and something nearer you. You know, the British were great masters of statue building. And near India Gate, there was a statue of George V. He was a very short man, but they very cleverly put the statue high up and had a big train falling down over the thing. It was a beautiful piece of sculpture by a great sculptor of England, Mick Jagger. Now they took it off because they didn't want him there, fair enough. And this is another story. This is in 1989. They wanted to put Gandhiji there. Whenever elections come, Gandhiji is pulled out. So the elections were due. So the government then, Rajiv Gandhi, said that they wanted Gandhiji statue. Now we have a conservation group in Delhi and we protested. We said, no, don't spoil it. Because then they went on to say the whole canopy must come down because Gandhiji must not be under a canopy. He's free. He said, no. So this went on. And what was interesting is the people who participated in the discussion were perfectly ordinary people. All of us, teachers, students, architects, no big names. And we won. And if you go today to Delhi, you'll see the empty canopy there. So they said, put something in it, put something in it. I said, no, the emptiness is the importance. The British have left. Yes. This is empty. It's gone. So there it stands. Okay. Now this government didn't like the emptiness. So now Subhash Bose is standing there inside it. And unlike George V, who's a small statue, this is a huge. So there's monumentality for you. The bigger Subhash Bose is, the easier it is to forget that he had such a tragic life. You begin to imagine he succeeded. Then the 9-story buildings. Then in Pragati Maidan, the Hall of Nations, which is a world recognized piece of architecture, was destroyed in 2017.
And I felt that actually I felt so sad the day that building was demolished, because from National Book Trust, we used to organize book exhibitions there. And when I worked for NBT as an editor, we used to organize book exhibition there. Madam, I'm coming to another point. You say, if we speak in terms of history, one is that, okay, if we look back at the history of Delhi, as well as the history of India also, and let us focus on Delhi. So it was the, say, Mughal era. From Mughal era came the English era, the Britishers, the colonial period. And from the colonial time, we had this freedom movement, and we have this, our after freedom, we have these Gandhis, Nehrus, and this till the other day, we have the celebration of our freedom and the aspiration of our freedom. And all those things were there in Delhi. Delhi was witness to all these things. Now, is there an attempt that we actually do a new beginning and we show it in our, you see, in buildings, in big monuments and things like that? Is there an attempt like this?
Then only saving grace is that history is not only in buildings. History is in language. History is in popular kind of phrases, words that you use. It's in your cuisine, it's in costume, it's in various things. So you can't make a break. I mean, I'm not sure. I think the kind of thing this is worth comparing it with is what happened when the Tsarist regime in Russia was overthrown. That was a much more total cut. It's nothing like that. No way. It cannot be and it won't be. But there is some sense of we must assert ourselves as a great nation. I think at that point you should look in to see where our shortcomings are, not merely compete with others in the jazzy things like, showmanship and so on, but until every child goes to school wearing a nice uniform, I will not say the country is progressed. There must be some criteria everybody has for what they define by it. It's not the tops of the things.
Yes. You mean to say that when I say about history, I didn't mean those monuments and big buildings. I say just as a witness to this. Now, when we become proud of our country, we are not proud of our country as because there's a tall statue of Sardar Peter. We are proud of country as because there's a big palatial building. We'll be proud of our country when there is actually freedom of expression, total freedom of expression. We'll be proud of our country when there is every child goes to the school. And not only every child goes to the school, every child get the opportunity to go for higher education. And not only higher education, quality education. But is there that we are actually somehow, we are shifting our, goalpost?
At the inauguration of Parliament, maybe you should have had not the members of Parliament, but children of the age of 18 who are going to be the next voters. They should have been there to inaugurate the Parliament. If
and
it had, was
sadhus, we saw those sadhus and sannyasis in the Parliament.
The what?
Those sadhus,
Sorry?
Hindu sadhus. Hindu sadhus.
In the Hindu, the newspaper, I read that there was an all-faith prayer meeting. Is that true?
I really do not know. I do not know. But what I saw is only those sadhus I saw, the Hindu priest.
Yes, they've been forwarded all over the place. Yes.
So overall, how do you actually what do you make out of the entire this drama of this Central Vista?
I feel that a city belongs to its people, and they should all be allowed to comment, advise, criticize anything new that is being done. Now, in most countries, when there's a big building proposal or even a small one, they have a very clear board at the entrance saying this is being pulled down and this will come in its place. We give you 1 month for objections. So you know what is going to come. Now, in most cases,
was there such a process?
Then there is an organization called the Delhi Urban Art Commission.
Yes, You are
Which
very
is,
closely associated with that.
yes, which is the place that you go to for, I mean, it's a body appointed by Parliament. It's not a small organization, it's quite powerful. And they could, if they want to, object to something. For instance, when Charles Correa was the head in 2004, there was a hideous police memorial that had been built, and we actually got it taken down because it was aesthetically wrong. It was blocking the view of Rashtrapati Bhavan, so on. And a new memorial was designed for it, which is very pleasing, very low scale.
Now
So,
this, yeah, please.
so they should have, I don't know what their consultations were on this.
Now this thing has come up in front of the old Parliament House.
I call it the sandwich and the muffin. Actually, there was a Karan committee which had gone into it in great detail and said how the old one, the existing one, could have been, what repairs were needed, what things had to be done to modernize it, to clean it up. It was a typical PWD building, not being treated very imaginatively. He said it can be done and the extra members can fit in. There was no need to have it like this.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that Karan Singh's actually letter to
Yeah.
the government. I saw that. So where do we go from here, ma'am? From this understanding of our history, where do we go from here?
It's very difficult to read the future, but the history does not move in a straight line. It moves in like a spiral. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, are you talking only of the Central Vista or generally?
No, no.
Generally, I
This
think
the general
architecture,
understanding.
public space are at responsibility of all of us. And just armchair criticism will not. Oh, I think that there is a tendency to leave architecture to architects. So the people who comment on it, for most part, and many of them have done so very well, are architects themselves. Now that is a very self-conscious exercise because everything is personalized. That is not the point. They're not doing it, but it will be seen as that. He is anti-X or pro-Y and so on. That is not the point. The thing is that I'm just giving you the example of the Indira Gandhi Center. Whether you like it or not, it was done by international competition. All the entries which were shortlisted were put on display for 2 weeks. We all went and looked at them. We commented on them. I'm not sure how much of a dent it had, but at least it was officially, publicly, there was public consultation. Here, they say it's because of security. How security can be affected by an architectural drawing, I don't know. But we have no visuals. You know, when Lutyens and Baker were building the Secretariat complex, they had, what do they call, imaginary sort of axonometric drawings, which is how it will actually look, not flat plans, but the height and so on. Very good artist was engaged for this, and he did beautiful drawings. Here we don't have those drawings. We don't see what it'll look like. If you stand at India Gate, what are you going to see? If you stand near the secretariats, what will you see? It's not clear.
And one
We
point,
don't know.
yeah,
We don't know what the Prime Minister's house will look like, or the Vice President's, how that whole area, because at this moment, they're all free of big buildings. So very confusing.
No, this is a very important point you have made, ma'am. When you say that, okay, so that it should be the consent of the public should be sought. Now the question is,
Discussion.
yeah, discussion should be there, And now they said that, okay, because security reason, they cannot show it. Now, what security reason? These things should be very transparent, isn't it? This is not some, this is.
No, security works in very strange ways. For instance, the whole of Lutyens Delhi there is an archive with all the drawings done by Lutyens himself, fantastic drawings in pencil, which he did in the 3 or 4 years during the First World War, when they couldn't do the building. They were sort of paralyzed. And he sat and drew everything, all the tiles, all the pillars, everything was drawn out. These are all kept in Nirman Bhavan. Now, in the 70s and 80s, we were allowed to go and look at them. Now the door is firmly locked and nobody's allowed in. Now, apart from the fact that they're not being looked after and will probably get spoiled, I mean, once the rains got in there, but because they were in steel cylinders, they were not spoiled. I don't know what they're like. We've tried and tried, but nobody will respond. So the sense of security extends to amazing limits. So this will go into things which are contributed to the future.
I find it quite strange, actually. These are public things, public property. And if the public cannot, and public means, I don't mean only the legislators. I don't mean only the parliamentarians. Public is all, you and I, all, everybody is public. Any intelligent person can comment on this. You wrote so many articles on the Central Vista thing. Why did you write these things? And you gave empty number of examples from history from different places. So, and if these things, these comments, these criticisms are not taken care of, and if then nobody gives any importance to these things, then it's a strange kind of.
I suppose there's just this much that people will expend their time on. You know, when you say public spirited individual, I don't know that in India too many people have that definitely can be defined like that, because you know, you come to a point when there are so many hassles in life that to cope with one's own domestic and workplace problems takes up your time, and that's all I can say, because there is really no interest in what happens beyond your wall.
But then
that has to be created.
Yeah, and the government takes advantage of that, isn't it? Government takes advantage of that. Yeah. So finally, last comment from your side on the entire thing, entire development.
Okay.
On the entire development, this debate, discussion, and the thing coming up.
I still have not got the last bit.
No, I wanted to know
the
last words from your side on this thing.
A wonderful opportunity lost. That is, I would have done, there is an example. There is a housing area called Hudco Place. I don't know whether you've seen it. They're all red brick buildings. They're all of a particular height. So there is a uniformity. But each bunch of buildings was given to a different architect. So there was a sense of competitiveness there. And also they put their best foot forward. So if instead of one firm doing this huge project, it is humongous. 9 buildings, 5 ceremonial buildings, 14, 15, I don't know. It's not right. It should have been given to 15 different individuals with certain parameters so that they didn't all build differently. And you could have been proud of it. This is a Korea building, though he's not there. Though she's not there, all the good people have gone.
I know.
Okay.
So,
You know, even Raj Rewal, in spite of having lost his Hall of Nations, I think there was a discussion as to whether he might be chosen for the Central Vista. He didn't get it. So every one of them should have been honored by having one part in it. And this would have been a national project. I mean,
But-
Dutchins didn't build by himself. There were two main architects, and there were lots of others who've all been named on the road names. You know, things like Keeling Road. They've changed these names, so we'll never remember them. Haley Road. These are all local officials. And the ones that were left out were Lutyens and Baker. They did not put their names down. That's modesty for you.
yes, yes. So, ma'am, thank you very much for your, you see,
I'm sorry it
delivery.
was very wandering.
But actually, I hope from these discussions, many will get many clues for various things. And thank you very much for agreeing to this interview. And we'll get back to you whenever there is such issues. Thank you, ma'am. Once again. Namaskar.
Do that. Thank you. It was my privilege. I enjoyed that. Thank you very much for your patience.
Okay.